Hello fellow Helldivers, Thornton here out mountain biking in Colorado, but today we're going to be talking about how Tencent seems to have acquired more stock inside of, well, Arrowhead, and what that means for the game in terms of microtransactions in the future. We're going to cover all that news, but without further ado, let's jump into today's topic. So fellow Helldivers, Super Earth just got a new investor in the war effort, and it has caused a lot of concern because its name is Tencent. Yes, that Tencent. It's the same mega corporation that owns Riot Games, has deals with Ubisoft, which, I mean, let's be honest here, it's Ubisoft that's kind of worrying in and of itself, but it practically owns the deeds to the internet in China at this point, and they just dropped about $80 million to acquire a 15.75% stake in Arrowhead, which, as we all know, is the creators of Helldivers 2. So the thing is, I've seen a lot of posts in doom and gloom on Reddit about, is this the moment to panic? Is Tencent going to force Arrowhead to sell Helldivers NFTs and gacha loot pods? Which, I mean, honestly, that would be a worst case scenario. But the other part of it is, are we all blowing this out of proportion? To break it down, when they went ahead and acquired that 15% for $80 million, they actually valued Arrowhead at over $500 million, and that's actually a pretty big significant amount. And it's definitely a sign that Helldivers 2 is no longer a small-time indie game. I mean, we've known that for the last year, but Arrowhead is also not small-time anymore. However, it's important to note that this means that Tencent is a minority stakeholder. The other 84% is actually still in the hands of the founders, including Johan Pietelstedt, Emil England, and others. The people who actually created the game are still very much in charge. Tencent at this point is basically a passenger, not the driver. And there's some good news about this. Tencent's involvement is unlikely to impact Helldivers 2 gameplay, monetization, or design in the short term. Keep that in mind, short term is important. Arrowhead is 100% still independent in terms of creative direction. They're already working on their next game, which also they said is not going to have anything to do with Sony. They're not being absorbed or rebranded into Tencent Sweden, at least not yet, because this investment is clearly a strategic access to the Chinese market. In fact, Pietelstedt himself confirmed that China remains one of the most lucrative and most tightly regulated markets in gaming, and there's a lot of Chinese Helldivers that are apparently using cheats and giving us free super credits, so thank you for the ones giving us free super credits. However, gaining access means potentially millions of new players, which they've been trying to do, fund even more gameplay content in the near future. In fact, there's been no evidence Tencent has meddled in creative development at studios like Riot, at least not overtly, and Arrowhead isn't exactly the type of studio to roll over for trend chasing as we've seen with their other games. In fact, Pietelstedt even said at GDC that the industry is doomed to unnecessary layoffs by chasing battle royale and trends. If that's not basically him confirming that he knows where he wants to take this game, then I don't really know what else could be. And if we're going to take a look at, the financial aspect of it, Tencent doesn't just invest for fun. They play the long game. Over time, it's possible they could increase their stake, ask for a greater say in business decisions, or even ask Arrowhead towards more monetization opportunities that might feel, well, less Helldiver or more Gacha Diver. But here's the counterbalance. Arrowhead is insanely profitable, like insanely. According to financial reports, they posted an operating profit of nearly 76 million USD on revenues nearing 100 million. That means that simply they don't need to sell out, and they're not desperate. They don't have to chase trends or slap a battle pass on everything, although I'll take more war bonds. I can't wait for the next one on Thursday. The Helldivers 2 formula does work, and Tencent is investing in that existing success. They're not trying to rebuild the game in what their image is. So unless Arrowhead leadership suddenly turns into loot box goblins overnight, and there isn't very much of a sign of that, they've been very communicative, especially when we got the Killzone war bond. They went back on that very quickly and even gave us a free pay. Tencent's stake is likely to stay a financial partnership. It's nowhere near a hostile takeover. There's actually a lot of good things that could come out of this. There's the Chinese market access where millions of potential new players could finally inject Helldivers 2 with more community. I mean, I would love to see it on Xbox, but I don't know if that's ever going to happen. There's also increased resources where Arrowhead could use Tencent's investment to expand their team, fix servers faster, or build more ambitious content. As most of you know, they're actually on summer vacation right now, and they go ahead and go into kind of a skeleton crew. By having more money available, they can hire more staff in different regions to help keep the game going with content year round. And there is, of course, the financial backing is now secured. Arrowhead can actually pursue experimental titles without the fear of going broke if they miss on a game. And I'm going to be honest, Tencent's reputation in gaming is definitely not spotless, but the 15% stake is not the end of Arrowhead's independence. It might actually allow it to be more reinforced. Pietelstedt and everyone there at Arrowhead still call all the shots. Sony is also very much involved in the studio and the game. And possibly the best thing that could come out of all of this is with more money infused into Arrowhead, we might finally get an engine upgrade, which is something it desperately needs. Let me explain. There was a recent interview with Michael Erickson where he sat down with Polygon and actually talked about there are plans to turn the game into eventual Helldivers 3. However, right now the studio is planning for an eventual 5.0 release. So what you kind of want to know about that is there's a lot of stuff that's still going to be going on. He further clarified saying, when we first launched the game, I thought, okay, we have a version 1.0 here, but we're imagining a 3.0 or a 5.0 that'll be super epic. I didn't anticipate how powerful it already was. When we had Malevolent Creek moments or Meridia or whatever, people were role-playing and we had players super invested in the story. It was such a beautiful thing to see and it blew us away. And then he went on to further clarify there was some meaningful impact he wants to see in the future of the game, such as the fact that when the DSS was launched, well, it was a shaky launch, but it's at least one of the steps and we're planning to improve on the DSS and keep building on the functionality. So hopefully that platoon clan system is one of those steps. He went on to further clarify it's one of the ways we want to give a chess piece to the community, and we have several more planned as well. Clan system, again, yeah, maybe just wishful thinking. We want to give the community ways to have a real impact on the outcomes of the Galactic War and leave permanent marks. They'd be able to change the game meta in considerable noticeable ways, just like a player in a tabletop role-playing game, which is actually refreshing to hear and really great. If you ever thought, oh, the odds are stacked against us, well, sometimes it is, but it does appear that they are trying to give us the freedom of choice to go ahead and move and change and impact the universe as we see fit. That being said, I am excited to see what a Helldivers 3 could possibly be. As we've talked about on this channel before, Arrowhead has actually gone ahead with the CEO saying, Helldivers 2 was built on an archaic engine. This is true. Our crazy engineers had to do everything with no support to build the game to parity with other engines. And yes, the project started before it was discontinued. The game engine no longer functionally actually exists with support and updates. So going to a Helldivers 3 seems like the most logical conclusion to go ahead and make the game long-standing. I just hope everything carries over from Helldivers 2 to Helldivers 3 because that kind of progression would be very much needed or at least welcomed by the community. All that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into community clips. Don't forget to submit your own to me at Thorn and Smash on Twitter or on Instagram if you guys ever want to see the outdoor stuff. It's pretty easy to find, but without further ado, let's roll it.
Oh shit.
Pelican 1 approaching pickup. Pelican 1 landing sequence.
Oh shit! What the fuck is going on?
Holy shit! So how are we gonna get?
Okay. Oh shit!
Back up.
Go before he decides to kill us. Go before he decides to kill us. Oh shit!
Another victory for the right side of history.
Honestly, yeah.
Let me know down below, are you guys worried about Tencent and possibly more microtransactions being shoved down your throats in the name of managed democracy? And also, don't forget to check out this video right here where I cover more news on Helldivers on the daily. Until next time, everyone, thanks for stopping by. Keep spreading managed democracy.